You're listening to the Scarf Bagara War, part of the Talksport Fan Network, and charity partners with Mentel, for county fans, by county fans.
Good evening and welcome to episode 30 of season 2 of the Courtyard Club Call. We are recording this the evening after the defeat at Crystal Palace, 1-0 defeat, and I'm joined by Dan and Big Rolo. Dan, how you doing, mate? Did you get back for a decent time last night?
Yeah, I got back. I think 9:30 we were back for, so not too bad at all. Ordered a pizza, sit down, chilled. Yeah, good night.
Spot on. What about you, Rolo? What time did you get back?
Well, I didn't go to the game. I didn't actually attend the match, so I watched it on TV. Not quite tell you how I watched it on TV, but I watched it on TV. It was just all of a sudden popped up, so I watched it. But the lad, he got back at nearly 11:30. But I think he stopped off for a swift lubrication and a bite to eat. So probably understandable.
Yeah. Sorry, I've forgotten you hadn't gone to the game. I did listen to the Wednesday pod, and you did say that you weren't going to go. We passed loads of coaches on the way home. Loads of county coaches, which is always good. So we stopped for cheeky Nando's on the way back as well. Cobham services, not too bad actually, to be fair. So if you're in that neck of the woods, it's plenty on offer. Nando's, Pizza Express, and all the usual stuff. Anyway, so yeah, let's get into this game then. Dan, do you want to bring us up the starting 11, mate?
Yeah, so it was a bit of a surprise. I think the biggest surprise for me out of all the names in the team was obviously Corey being in goal. But when you sort of think about it, I think Corey's played the other cup games, the other rounds in goal. So is it only fair that he then, comes into this game regardless of the opponents because he's played the previous rounds? Apart from that, like I say, there was nobody there that was a big surprise. Tanto started, which was sort of semi-expected. We did say he'd be involved, and he'd be back to some fitness. So yeah, formation-wise, obviously Corey in goal. It was a back five. I had it as with Torre, Pye, Connolly, Noyle, and Maka. Then with a midfield three of Bailey, Camps, and Collar, and with two up front, I thought, with Wootton and Tanto being up front and offering a bit of an out ball and a bit of a threat. But yeah, definitely a back five, I thought, to start the game with. And we sort of try to sort of like hold that line and keep them out for a couple of minutes at least.
I'm just going to very quickly go through some of the names in the Crystal Palace team. Obviously, first time we played Premier League opposition in 3 or 4 years. And I mean, yeah, there's some England internationals there. Gahey, he's an England international. Eze, obviously. Ismail Sarr, not English international, but he's very well thought of in the Premier League. Nketiah came from Arsenal as well. So I was excited to see.
Was he £30 million from Arsenal in the summer?
He cost. Yeah. I think he was. And listen, I mean, this is a Stockport County podcast, but I really enjoyed seeing some of their players, and you could tell the quality in them. They didn't play particularly well. We'll get onto that, but I was impressed with Eze and Nketiah. I thought Nketiah, for such a small guy, he was strong, wasn't he? And we have Woots and we have Tanto, and Nketiah was diminutive compared to the two of them, but he did so well just to hold off our central defenders, I thought. Having said that, I thought Ethan Pye added an extra couple of million onto his price tag for the way that he dealt with their front three effectively, Nketiah, Sarr and Eze. How did it look to you first sort of 10 minutes, Rolo, and how we started the game?
Yeah, I think we kind of started as expected. We were trying to, obviously, like Dan said, hold the line. And I think the idea was to try and spoil the game a bit, if you like. I think, Charlie alluded to it. It was trying to get the Crystal Palace fans concerned, get the county fans going, and just getting that little bit of momentum. Obviously, you concede an early goal, and it was a really good goal. I know, we're going to point at mistakes, but he's got a lot to do there, Eze, and I think he really stood out along with Gay for me. I thought, and Lerma as well. I thought they were three players that really stood out for them, and you could tell the difference in quality. Yeah, I think again, Charlie alludes to it. You're not going to go toe to toe for 90 minutes against players like that, and that's no disrespect to our team. We are where we are. We're building. We're not a Premier League club, and they are, and they've got some really good players in there that, if I'm honest, I think they'll be looking to keep hold of come next season.
How do you think the defence handled the game, Dan?
I think it's like a lot of games we've had this season. We maybe have given a bit too much respect and a little bit nervous, and we just, like I say, needed that sort of 10, 15 minutes to find ourselves. Obviously, we didn't. We conceded that goal. Obviously, people say it was Odin Bailey because he had the ball, he lost it. Some will say it's a heavy touch. But the level, obviously, from League One to Premier League is how quick you actually do things off the ball. And you could see that with Eze, he's different gravy. He's for them what Louis Barry was for us in League One. So, I'm not going to put blame onto Bailey or anything like that early in the game. And at that point, we could all probably thought this is going to be 4-5-0. We thought this could be a bit of a long afternoon as such. But credit to the guys, resilience. They dug in deep. Found themselves again, stuck to a game plan, and kept it as 1-0. And when it's always 1-0, we're always one moment away from being right back in it again.
I think that was key for me. You don't want to be going to a ground like that and be 3-0 down after 20 minutes. It's just, you're not going to get anything out of it. And fair play to the lads, because we've said on the Courtyard Club call before, we do keep conceding early goals. We've done it. I can't remember the exact games, but 3 or 4 times over the last sort of 6 or 7 games, I think we're sort of 1-0 down after 10 minutes. And it's always going to be difficult to get back. But I thought we gave it a really good fist. And I looked at the possession stats at half time. I nearly fell off my seat. 81% they had to 19% for us. It didn't feel like that in the ground. I don't know whether Rolo, whether you sort of felt that we were struggling for possession, but I felt that we were. Okay, we didn't have I'm not going to say we had 81%, but it didn't feel that unequal, put it that way.
Yeah, at the end of the game, I checked stats at the end of the game and it was 25%. And I thought, felt like we had a bit more there, especially in the second half. I think we were a bit sloppy at times, and that's not a criticism because, you're against Premier League opposition. I think if you speak to Challoner, I think he'd probably say exactly the same thing. We could have looked after the ball a bit better at certain times. But off the ball, we were absolutely superb. In terms of it, work rate, the effort. And it's interesting the point you make about early goals, because it has been a case of that. And I don't know what you two fellas think, but like the last sort of few weeks, and I know there's been a busy schedule, it kind of feels like we're playing for 45 minutes at the moment. Yesterday felt a bit more like we were playing for 90 again. Felt like a bit of a change in momentum for me, because the effort and the work rate, while albeit the quality with the ball, but again, against Premier League opposition, wasn't necessarily as good as it could be. It felt like we were back a little bit in terms of a full 90 minutes.
I mean, I think what you find now with Premier League opposition, maybe 20 years ago, you could out-battle a Premier League side and potentially get some joy from that point of view. I think these days, the way that the Premier League is structured, every single team works their absolute nuts off. And even though you've got very technically gifted players, they will run and they close down the space. And I was really impressed. I mean, we had a decent bit of momentum in that first half. Sort of around the 32 to 36 minutes mark. Doesn't sound much, 4 or 5 minutes. but we popped the ball around really nicely. We passed around them. They couldn't get the ball off us. And I was thinking, this is really impressive, actually, because they are a top side. And I know we only lost 1-0. So I know they only scored 1 goal. But I was just really impressed with how we handled ourselves from that point of view. And the heads didn't go down as well. It could have been, look at Salford. Okay, they're playing Man City, slightly different. But Salford lost 8-0, didn't they? And for us to go toe-to-toe with them, going at half-time, and have generated a few chances as well. Dan, what did you think of the Kyle Wotton chance? Did you see it?
The header on the 41st minute, I think it was, just before half-time, like you say, sort of corresponded with that good momentum that we had. I think it started off with Tanto holding the ball up, and the same again. It's one of them games. Only if Tanto was fully fit, got a couple of goals before that, then he would be. I think he would have scored there. But he holded up the ball well. I think he laid it off to Torre, who swung it in, and the sort of header from really round about the penalty spot, I think it was. And it's one of them ones you sort of look and you can see the direction it's going in. It didn't look like it was going in that top corner, but you sort of just thought if it was just a little bit more cuter with it, then it was the goalkeeper wouldn't have had a chance. But yeah, that was sort of like a good point where, like you say, that momentum and that possession we had, and it was a good move, like you say, with Tanto being strong and holding the ball up as well. And it sort of gives the opportunity then for Wootton to get into them areas and to attack the ball when we cross it in, instead of opposed to holding it up, laying it off, and then trying to spin and lose his marker. He's got a bit of support and help in doing that when Tanto's alongside him.
The chance I was thinking of, Lee, it was the one where Tanto did some good work down the right, and he crossed the ball in, flashed across the face of the goal.
Yeah.
And from our point of view, I don't know what it looked like on TV, but I'll tell you what it looked like from our point of view. It looked like he missed an absolute sitter.
No, I don't think it was an absolute sitter. I think the big chance was probably Tanto's in the second half. So no, I wouldn't have said so. He's and just a point on Tanto there. I thought he looked back to his best as well. I know he didn't score, but he looked like he was back in the flow of things, and he created himself that chance. And 9 times out of 10 he scores that. Alafi, but then to be fair to the keeper, it's a fantastic save. He gets down really well. I'm not sure if he could have hit that any better with it. But yeah, no, it wasn't a sitter. I mean, yeah, goal, but no, it's not like a how's he missed that sort of thing. It wasn't as bad as that one.
Yeah, it was interesting because in the ground, it did look like it was a sitter, but actually we hung around after the game and we sort of waited for some of the players to get on the coach, and I managed to have a bit of a chat with him about it. And I said, "Oh, Kai, what happened there?" And he said the defender got a flick on it, which basically took it away from him. And actually, if you look at it again, the goalkeeper's like batting one of their defenders on the back, saying, "Well done, well done." And so Kyle was forgiven at that point. But so I mean, like, if the defender hadn't got a touch on it, it was just there to be knocked in, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the highlights, I think Kyle actually had his foot opened up, his foot opened up, ready just to tap it in as such. And yeah, like you say, it was just that last gasp defending from Palace that just sort of took it away from Kyle's basically inside foot and getting us that equaliser. So yeah, moments, just all down to them little moments. But like you say, for me, I just thought Tanto was absolutely a menace for them. He showed that pace and hurrying and strength, and I just thought, like you say, he looked back to his best.
Yeah, without getting his goal.
Definitely missed him.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, Tanto, I'm a huge fan of. I think he doesn't help. He's not had a proper pre-season. He's then got injured in between, and it's just been a real sort of stuttering campaign for him. I think if we can get some consistency now, get him some minutes on the pitch, I think it's not going to be long before he's back to popping the ball in from all angles. He's a very, very good natural centre forward for me.
I saw some interesting stats. I think it was on the yellow board. somebody posted the stats for Langstaff and comparing his sort of shots to goals ratio compared to Tanto. I think it might have been last season. And something like Langstaff needs like 7 shots for every goal, and Tanto scores from one every 3 shots. So although Langstaff scores more goals, he takes an inordinate number of more shots than him. So I mean, fair play to Tanto. To he's obviously doing something right when he is shooting. He just needs to get more shots off.
Yeah, and like
And that's
said,
it. Great player.
But like we said, he's another player that's not had a pre-season, got injured, missed all the pre-season. I think obviously the Blackpool game was his first time back out on the pitch. We've started pre-season basically when the season had started. And we've seen it before, and we've talked about it before, that pre-season is so important, and the ones that do miss out seem to really take their time to get back up to speed, or always seem to have that niggling injury, or we think they're back, and then 2 weeks later they pull up with another injury or something like that. So, yeah, like you said, we need Tanto back, and I just think we look a better team with Wootton and Tanto up front.
Yeah, agreed. Should we talk about Adai? So he was preferred to Ben, as you say, Dan. Cup goalie. We're doing what Premier League teams do. We've got a little cup goalie. I was well impressed with him, and I did tell him when we saw him after the game, definitely his best game for us. I would say he was commanding. He got some. He plucked some crosses out. He seemed to be on the front foot, waiting to sort of come off his line. And he made a couple of really good shots. So saves from shots as well. Do we think, Lee, he may get the nod against Crawley? Against Reading? Obviously, we've got Crawley coming up. No, you don't think?
No, I don't think so. And it's nothing against Adai, but Ben's not really done a great deal wrong in that respect. I think this is it. Corey was fantastic, and I think he's had a lot of very, very kind of undeserved flack. And listen, I'm glad Ben's in that. He's a great goalkeeper, and if we can get these sort of consistent performances out of Corey, obviously he's learning a lot. He's only been here, so long. He's away from probably what he's used to down south, so. So, brand new for him up here and everything, time to settle. And he's, if he's coming out commanding, then he's learning off Ben, because that's one of Ben's big strengths. He's always been a great leader in the box, and, I think he's got a perfect sort of role model there to learn from. And I don't think it'll be long before he's number one. I mean, it could be, as late as next season, but he's going to get there. He's got a lot of ability. He's just got to get that consistency now with that commanding in the area, because that's really only the bit that's lacking for me.
Yeah, I think there was one little incident in the second half, I think, where the ball sort of gone through him and across him in the second half. But apart from that, I thought he was outstanding, in all fairness. A couple of saves late on in the game where he's one-on-one, and he's done well to get, to stop the ball. And like you say, you're one-on-one against Premier League international players, and he's stood up well. So, yeah, like I say, there is going to be boo boys. I think it's a bit disrespectful that as soon as they announce his name, some fans are starting singing, Ben's name. I think like with all the county players, I think they're all done themselves proud. They did the fans proud. I don't think there was anybody really that you could say that had a bad day. I think the substitutions that came on obviously later in the game, which we'll get round to in a minute, were obviously very difficult for them to get into the groove and the pace, and they didn't make much impact, but then again they didn't make any mistakes either, I felt.
I'm just going to go back to the defence as well. I sort of touched on it before, but I was super impressed with Connolly as well. Obviously playing centre back, preferred to Sam Hughes. He's going to get a long run in the team with Fraser being out for 2-3 months, I think it is. I'm more than happy to have him in there. He marshaled the defence well. We had a high line for the majority of the game as well, which is, it's got to be applauded against the Premier League side with bags and bags of pace, and they had the runners as well. But that bravery to hold that high line to keep them away from the penalty box, probably was the reason why we ended up keeping it at 1-0. If you start dropping against a team like them, you saw that Eze only needed half a chance. He wasn't closed down for his goal, and suddenly he's picked out an inch perfect shot, and it's gone in the bottom corner. So well done to that unit of Noyle, Connolly, and Pye. They were superb.
Yeah, I mean, Pye stands out for me every game. He's a player that's going to go. He's going to play the Premier League. There's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind. He's a player, and what I love about Pye is he's not infallible. He's made mistakes. When he makes a mistake, he doesn't make that mistake again. He learns from it, and we'll be lucky to keep open in this window. We will, because there's clubs circling. If you believe the rumours that are out there, there's clubs looking. We need, like you said, we probably added a couple more million onto it for that performance yesterday. But it was so controlled. It wasn't even just. It was things like coming out with the ball after he's taken the ball off someone instead of kicking it out of play.
Yeah.
And it's those little differences sometimes, especially at that sort, at that level in the Premier League, that make a difference between ball retention or not. If you're playing against the Manchester City as an example, and you put the ball out of play when you've got the ball, or you've got an opportunity to come away with the ball, you're giving them possession back, and when they've got the ball, you don't get it, and that's the big difference. And Ethan Pye, I'm a huge fan of. Great to see Noyle as well. He was superb. Like he'd not been away. Connolly had a good game. He wouldn't be in my, if everyone's fit, he wouldn't be in my starting 11. But he's definitely got something there to add, and he's obviously stepped up yesterday and had a really good performance alongside the other two. So yeah, brilliant performance from him.
Yeah, Ethan Pye does love to do that Zidane turn as well. Then he does it so well that you think he's in a little bit of trouble, and then he just turns on the ball, and the attack is just left behind, and he carries the ball then 4 or 5 yards up the pitch and picks out a pass. So yeah, I mean, I've said for a few seasons now since he made his debut, I could honestly think Ethan Pye could do a job in midfield because I think when he's on the ball, he's quality. But same again, he's a left-footed defender, and like you say, they're worth their price in gold. So I won't be surprised even in this transfer window somebody comes in for him. I'm hoping when somebody does come in for him that the deal is that he stays with us for 6-12 months on loan at least, because you could go to somewhere like Palace. If you're a Palace manager, you'd put a £3 million bid in now for him and just send him back to us to keep his development, knowing that you've got a player in the wings that you could bring back in the summer or next year, the year after that, that is absolutely going to be worth an absolute fortune.
I don't think 3 million.
Less than 3 million.
Yeah, I don't think 3 million is enough to get him, Dan. I mean, obviously there's the conversation to have with the player itself as well. If someone offers 3 million and he really wants to go, then yeah, you can't potentially deny him that. But I would be wanting more than 3 million, or 3 million plus some stupid sort of sell-on clause, because if he does a good job at a Leicester or a Palace or somewhere like that, I could see him playing at a team like Arsenal. I really could, because he is so good on the ball. He's a sort of player.
The game as well, doesn't he? He reads the game so well, and if we look back the centre halves we've had over the years, I mean, like Mike Flynn was my hero growing up, and Flynn used to read the game really. I wasn't great on the ball, obviously, but he read the game really well. And my honest thing is, in terms of how he reads the game, he's up there with Flynn, possibly even surpassing him in terms of how he reads the game. It's because that's what defending's all about. It's all about off the ball, isn't it? And while he's great on it, everything he does off it is just brilliant. I mean, I said in the summer when we were talking about losing possibly Horsfall or Pye, and we'd never want to lose either. They're both fantastic players. I said, given the two, I'd rather have lost Horsfall than Pye, because I just think there's so much that defence depends on him for. So
I think what I'm really impressed with Pye though is how many times you see him making that last ditch tackle or interception, but it's not on his side of the pitch. He's gone over, he's read the danger, he senses danger, and he's moved over the pitch, and he's aiming again. I think obviously the partnership with Horsfall, and he gets him out of trouble a lot because he's just sensed that danger and he's got himself into the position. So he's not ball watching, he's not reacting. He's aware that, his spidey sense has gone off, and he's already, there. And I think that's him again is one of his attributes, for sure. So yeah, no, like I say, I don't think there's any player that should come off that pitch, regardless if they started or come off as sub, that didn't put themselves in a good light for the rest of the season. And Dave Challoner talks about it a lot. It's, we have to build on that. We have to sort of, all that good work that we did against Palace has to be cemented by what we do against Reading on Saturday.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, just to sort of, I mean, the whenever you play a Premier League side, I always say, even a Championship side, you've got to get a little bit of luck. You aren't going to be creating 20 chances against them. It's not really a numbers game against a team like that. You might get 3 or 4 chances. If you can score one of them, you might need a little bit of luck to do that. And I genuinely believe that that's what we were missing. There's just that little bit of luck. The ball just falling to us when it should have done, or I think it was that. And any cup upset needs that. We just didn't get that rub of the green. But the way the guys played, as you said, Rolo, the way that they played off the ball was excellent. Their shape was brilliant. We didn't really allow Crystal Palace many chances themselves. And heads held high and carry on with the league. So we've got the last 21 games. Should we just talk very quickly about our Icelandic... Is he a teenager? Is he 19 still?
Yeah, you're a kid.
Yeah. So you would have missed, unfortunately, Lee, the Icelandic thunderclap. So when he came on, there was a smattering of people trying to get the thunderclap going, and we had the drum and what have you. But the real magic happened after the game. I thought we all stayed behind, and if anyone's seen on socials, there's some decent footage taken from the opposite sort of stand when what are we calling him? Brecky, Brioni, Anderson? I don't know.
Brecky for me. I love Brecky. So yeah, full English Brecky. That's what he's a full Icelandic Brecky.
With Brecky. So yeah, there's some amazing footage of him basically leading the Icelandic thunderclap. How nice is that for him? Come over to this country. He gets on in a big game against a big opposition, and he gets, in the end, nearly 20 minutes when you consider the injury time as well. And he put himself about as well.
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, for him, obviously, he's coming from a completely different sort of culture in terms of Iceland, and it's all going to be new to him. So anything that can be done to help him settle in is brilliant. And if the fans are going to be massively important, but they always have been. We're very, very blessed in the fact that this club, and I'd say this the other day when we were talking about on the scarf about Louis Barry and his family, saying how how well they put in that message and how well they felt they were looked after and everything like that. That's fantastic. But that's kind of, I've got to a point where that's kind of expected in terms of the club for me, because that's, I mean, you talk about these fans, this football club, it's the best in the world. You'll never convince me of anything otherwise. And they always make players feel welcome, and they will always have their own players' backs. And anything that we can do as fans, I'm sure we will. But the club as well, they'll look after him, and we're just in such a blessed position, really, with the people that we've got, supporters we've got, and the direction that we're going. It's just incredible.
And that's from top to bottom, in it, from Steve Bellis to, like I say, the girls and guys in the ticket office, in the club shop, that they all. Is, like you say, going back to when I started in the 90s and 80s with the friendly football club. And that was the slogan, and nothing has changed. And we have people, custodians like Steve Bellis, that will remind people of that, and keep us on the straight and narrow, and forever ever that happens, to be honest, because that is what our mantra is. It doesn't matter if you're away or a stray or a journeyman, you come to this club, you're treated like a hero, and and that's how we should be treating our players. And we and be honest, we do 99% of the time. We have a little bit of a wobble sometimes with players, but 99% of the time we do treat them like heroes.
quite right as well. Yeah, and it's like I said, we're just blessed, like you said, Steve there especially. He's a great guy, and he's the things he's done for this football club. And I know, he doesn't like you mention it all the time or anything like that. He's an humble bloke as well. So, but yeah, he's a
Oh, I've said it
fantastic.
before. When they build that new stand, it should be called the Steve Bellis stand. It's as simple as that. The only other one name you'd put on a stand is Kevin Francis. We've got the Danny Bagara stand, and for me, it should be the Steve Bellis stand.
Get the Mike Flynn stand, please. I'd have a funny stand, no problem. Yeah, no, again, you're absolutely right. That's Steve's been here through the bad, the good, and it's what's great now is the club, as a whole. There's always been times where sometimes the fan base hasn't felt united, and I hate to use that word, but hasn't felt always at one. People concerns with this, concerns with that. It feels like we're all pulling in the right direction all the way, and yeah, it's a fantastic time to be a County fan.
Superb. Yeah. So, I mean, just sort of wrapping up this game, looking at the FOTMob ratings, I'm absolutely staggered by the ratings, considering we lost 1-0 to a Premier League side. All our players, with the exception of Adai, he got 7.3. Everybody else was between a 5.2 for Bailey and a 6.9 for Connolly, whereas they got Turner, their goalkeeper, 8.3. He was man of the match, according to FOTMob. Eze got an 8.1. Kamada in midfield, who I thought was absolutely, he didn't do anything. He got 7.8. So it's funny, isn't it, how these things are marked and what have you. I certainly wouldn't have given
And
them.
it's even when you look at you're on the BBC website and you look at their ratings for the match, and the player of the match was Kyle Wotton on 7.18. They gave him. Tanto got 7.15. Maka got a 7.12. Ethan Pye got a 6.93. And when you look at the Crystal Palace ratings, their highest player was Eze on 7.12. And it goes to Mifusio on 6.59. Gay on 6.4. Lerma on 6.3. So it's amazing, like you say, how you go from looking at one lot of stats to another. And like you say, on the BBC, most, if not all, the county players rated higher than most of the Crystal Palace players.
Should we talk about the officials very, very briefly? So I was sort of right. I was right at the front, of the stand, sort of as close as you can get to the halfway line. And I'll be honest, I've spent most of my football watching life watching from behind the goal. Every now and then I've been in the main stand or something, but generally speaking, it's always been Cheadle End. And most away games, you tend to go behind the goal anyway. And I had a really good bird's eye view of the lineswoman, and it's a bloody hard job, to be fair, because the amount of times that I was sort of thinking it's offside, and like the ball's played, it's like, oh, I can't tell if that's offside or not. How do they do it without having two sets of eyes to watch where the ball is being played, and then watching down the line as well?
Well, I'm guessing
hard, isn't
it? One up there and one down there. But to be fair, the linesman and the lineswoman, as well, got pretty much everything right in terms of what they did. The referee, Mr. Atwell, not a huge fan of Mr. Atwell. No, he didn't. He's not the reason we lost that game in any way, shape, or form. I might just add, but yeah, he's not, in my opinion, he's not a particularly good referee. But yeah, I don't like. I've never liked him. I mean, I remember the ghost goal. Was it Reading, Odlin versus Watford, where one at the post and it got given? It was baffling. That was on his watch. So no, he's not a ref for me.
I think there's a good debate about it all. I don't, obviously, we had a Premier League referee, and there was a lot of Premier League referees doing FA Cup games over the weekend, and I don't think any of them really had sort of outstanding games. I don't think they all had a bit of controversy with them. Is VAR making referees worse? Is my sort of like debate on it. Are the skills and the things they learn, especially if you're a lines person, are you more reliant on the VAR getting you out of jail and not using the skills and yourself. And I just sort of I chuck that out there. I don't know, like you say, we're not blaming the referee for the result or anything like that. But I just think, as a whole, over the weekend of the FA Cup games, were the worst referees, or the ones that seem to get the most criticism, were Premier League referees, and they're the ones that have the VAR. The ones that referee Championship games most of the time seem to be the ones that all came out with sort of glowing performances.
It's certainly a good
Good
point. I
question.
mean, I thought the referee allowed play to go on pretty. He wasn't particularly pernickety from my point of view. I think he could have probably booked Wootton for one or two flailing arms. He caught that Richards guy a couple of times, and he obviously didn't want to make it about him, which some Premier League referees, you would say, they have these egos, and sometimes they are criticised for trying to make the whole thing about, hey, look at me, I'm a referee. So I think only four players were booked in the end. I can't even remember the bookings, to be honest. They weren't for much.
The one that got me obviously was the last minute with Connolly, where their attacker turned him and he was off the run, and Connolly just bear hugged him.
Oh, he absolutely took him out. Like
he weren't going there.
That was a part of his body in the way, whether it was his arms, his bum, his leg. You're not getting past me.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the big controversial bit, we weren't controversial, just frustrating, was obviously the last minute of the first half, where we get a free kick. We sort of, the time goes up, there's 1 minute. It delays the taking of the free kick. We take the free kick, put it in a good area, we win a corner, and then the referee blows for full time without allowing us to take the corner. And that's frustrating because, it's a moment where we could put the ball in the box and try and get that equaliser. That was probably out of the whole game. That was the most frustrating bit for me from the referee. That just one bit, but
I think I'm just biased. I don't like refs. We were well over the time on that one. We were well over the time, so I could understand, but they don't usually do it. They'd normally let you take the corner, wouldn't they? But I think the good point about VAR is it making referees worse. I think it's the Premier League and Championship and League One, they're completely different games to what the Premier League is. You can't touch players these days. I mean, the one with Wootton where he's put his arm, I mean, it's an accident. He's brushed him and he's gone down like he's been shot. I was there going, like I said, there's a sniper in the crowd here. I was watching it, but it's frustrating with them because, I mean, I can't stand VAR. I couldn't watch football like that. And if ever they start, saying you're in football in League One, we're going to have to do some protest, whatever. We cannot have VAR. It ruins the game. But yeah, I mean, referees, because again, they have this VAR, and the referees then don't make a decision. And then you look at something. I've watched games like my missus is unfortunately a City fan. Apologise, but she we watch games and I'll see things and I'll think, well, hang on, it is a foul. But then they're saying, well, it's not enough of a foul because he's given that original decision. I can't make out what it does. The only thing that works with it is offside, and people moan about that. You're either off or you're on. You can't be both. So it baffles me.
So a quick question, obviously, Rolo, because obviously you watched it on the TV. The pre-match, did you get much of the pre-match atmosphere? Because obviously that's the other thing that we noticed. I was a bit disappointed with Palace fans because obviously there's a big hype about Palace fans and how much noise they made and stuff like that. And I just didn't, honestly, I thought Charlton fans made more noise when we went to Charlton earlier in the season than what the Palace lot did. But it's one of them ones, the pre-match fires and the music and the dance music and the videos and all that lot. Some of it I liked, some of it was a bit over the top. I don't know. Did you get to see any of that, Rolo?
I did. So when I watched it on, it come on at the start. We've seen the fire. I'm not a massive fan of fireworks before games. It's very Americanized for me, and I don't like that. But the atmosphere during the game, all you could hear was County fans. It was incredible. I heard they were singing football in the library. That was as clear as day. There was obviously endless renditions of Blue and White Army, like that. That was going. Didn't hear the Palace fans, and considering they've got, is it this ultra thing or whatever they do, and they're very vocal. Certainly when I've seen them on the TV before, but yeah, they were silent. I mean, maybe it was the team performance. I don't know, but they didn't get going.
I do wonder whether, with it being an FA Cup game, maybe season ticket holders maybe didn't buy tickets, so it went to. There seems to be a lot of families, so dads and young lads and dads and young girls and stuff there. So maybe there was a little bit of that, but they did seem to have an ultra section behind one of the goals where they had these two flags which kept waving when there was a break in play, and they were the only singers basically, but we could hardly hear them. I think there were only probably about 500-600 of them from what I could see even singing. So no, we put a great, and once again, if you look at any of the socials, like Crystal Palace fans saying Stockport County fans best atmosphere or best away fans that they've had in ages, and congrats to us and stuff. So yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
The stewarding was a little bit heavy-handed. I don't know whether you came across any of that, Dan, but there was a guy close to us. I think his seat, he should have been like row 2 or something, and they'd sort of blocked it off with that black mesh that they use. And he was remonstrating with about 6 or 7 stewards for about, I'm going to say half an hour, just saying, I want to sit in my seat. I want to sit in my seat. And I'm thinking, just go and find somewhere else, mate. I mean, I know that you want to sit in your seat, but they're not going to let you sit there.
It was a bit of
going at him.
a weird one. There's some stewards were being strict about, no, this is your seat, you sit in it, and some were just letting you stand wherever you want, even in the aisleways. Because that front end, like I say, where you were, we were sort of like where the brick wall was, where sort of like goes from the higher tier to the lower tier.
Yeah.
And I was just on the back of the lower tier. But there's a lot of people that realise when you're sat up at the back, your view is absolutely ridiculous and awful. So they all sort of pushed down to the front. Yeah, it was easy. Like I say, just a bit of a weird one. I do miss when, like I say, the best away game I think for FA Cup for me was Watford away, when we all, we had all them flags and everything. And
is that the one we lost like 4-0 or something?
4-1.
4-1. I was there.
Yeah,
we like ironically chanting "We want 5" for them or something. I'm sure we were doing something like that, because we were just so. No, am I making that up?
I always just remember the flags and the number of fans we took, and I just remember the atmosphere on that one. The other one, FA Cup game, I always remember is obviously at Tottenham, and I think we're losing 3-0, and we're singing "We're going to win 4-3."
Yeah.
They score a goal, and we go from "We're going to win 4-3" to "We're going to win 5-4," and we don't even miss a beat. We don't even stop. We don't do anything. We just go straight with the song from 4. We're going to win 4-3. We're going to win 5-4.
I think you're right. I think we did that at Watford. I think at 4-1 down, we were going to say, we were chanting we were going to win 5-4. That's where it's come from.
Yeah.
I seem to remember Ashley Young coming on in that game when he was a youngster at Watford, and I think he might have scored a penalty.
He definitely scored in that game.
Yeah,
because he was their next big thing. I'm sure it was before he went to United, obviously, or was it Villa? Villa first, wasn't it? Was it Villa? Ashley Young at Villa.
Me thinking, I can't remember.
Yeah, Ashley Young went to Villa from Watford.
Villa, yeah. But he was definitely their next big thing.
Yeah.
But apart from that, the good thing about it is we don't have to go to Doncaster.
Yeah.
Silver linings.
Yeah. It's always the same, isn't it? I always fear it when we go out of the cup, because I look at who we would have got, and it ends up always being a team that we haven't played, like a Liverpool or a Man United or something like that a generational game. But this time, obviously, it was Donny away, so I'm not. And to be honest, I thought to myself when that was drawn, I think Donny will absolutely rough them up and give them a game if they put in that performance Palace against Doncaster. They will find it a lot more a bit more physical than what they were expecting.
I think if we'd played like we played and they played like they played at Edgeley Park, I think we'd have probably beaten them. I really do.
I mean, that's it. I mean, everyone was saying about Palace not playing well and everything like that. And I think it kind of takes away from us. I think, we made them play like that when we were closing the spaces down and trying to set up traps and stuff. And I mean, albeit some of it they got out of, but you expect that from Premier League teams. But that's their poor performance, as they'll put it, and they'll say, it wasn't great. I think you've got to give us the credit to say, actually, they worked harder than us. We've got the goal, but, on a different day, we win that game.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Well, I think that is Palace away done. Has anyone got anything else that they want to say on the game?
It's all about the league now, isn't it? Forget the cups. Yeah. We're out of them. All about the league.
We've got the Cheshire Senior Cup on Tuesday, Dan. Are you not?
No. I mean, it's an opportunity for Fiorini to get some game time, I suppose, and some of the other lads that are on the fringes. But yeah, that's what it is for, as we know. Just to get game time into some players. But no, like you say, it's all about the league now. 20-odd games left. And just see where the roller coaster takes us.
And we've got the transfer window to look forward to. So let's see what that brings as well. Cool. Okay, well, thank you for coming on once again at late notice, Lee. Much appreciated. You were a late sub for Andy, who cried off because apparently he's lost his voice because he basically shouted and drank too much.
He's not. He's still in bed with a hangover. Let's be absolutely honest. We've seen these videos out there. We've seen on social media of Andy absolutely looking wrecked on the couch on the way home. So
he was trying so hard not to fall asleep to be one of those like pictures on away day sleepers, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was absolutely. It serves him right. I think he was up drinking from 5:30 on a Sunday morning. I believe he even had to arrange to get somebody else to do the school run for him because he was that hanging. But he's no sympathy for Andy at all.
No. Not from us. I'm on dry January at the moment. It's killing me.
I think if you see Andy on any of the games, obviously Saturday's away into it at Reading. But if you see Andy, just get him a pint of water.
Brilliant. Okay. On that note, we'll sign off and say goodbye. Cheers, guys.
See you later.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Scarf Bagara War. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember, you can catch us every week on your favourite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members. Your contributions help keep the show running to bring the content you love. If you'd like to support the podcast and get access to exclusive special guest episodes, ad-free podcasts and a monthly giveaway, head over to patreon.com/the Scarf Bagara War. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content and more. You can find us on X, Facebook and Instagram, all at County Podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and share it with your fellow County fans. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Scarf Bagara War. Come on, County!